Okay, hi guys, and welcome to the show. Today, another episode of Gentry In A Jiffy. If you're not familiar with this segment, it's where I answer some of your most frequently asked questions. Now, to submit your FAQs, is that correct? Yeah, FAQs, theurban@gmail.com, all one word, or you can leave it in the comments below. Wristwatch check, naturally. I'm wearing the 30 Atmos. Can you blame me? Probably not going to wear anything else for quite a while. I did wear the Submariner, the true to sub, for about, I don't know, a couple of hours one evening, and then I had to strap this back on. Of course, on a native strap now, but anyway. So let's read the email. Let's just find it. Hold on, give me 1 second. Okay. Dear TGV, I love the show. Thank you for all the effort you put into your videos. You're very, very welcome. My name is Jack, such and such. I'm not going to read out your surname, and I live in Denver. I'm considering buying a TAG Heuer. What do you think of the brand, and why do you think they are considered garbage by some watch enthusiasts? Ooh, that is a bit strong. We'll get to that. I don't hear you talking about them often. Will you consider reviewing more of them? Yep, definitely will. I've reviewed 2, but they were both quite a while ago. So long overdue for a visit. Unfortunately, I've just got too many watches to review, but hopefully next year I will return with some more TAG Heuer. Any advice would be appreciated. Thanks in advance. Keep up the good work, Jack. Okay, well, thank you, Jack. Excellent question. First of all, let's address the positives, and then we'll come back and address the negatives. So without further ado, let's take it to Switzerland, shall we? As I often say, there is no better education than experience. While it is easy to criticize, or worse, disregard a brand from afar, one never truly knows a brand until you visit them in person and see the watches being made for yourself. A few years ago, on my tour of half a dozen of the most important Swiss watchmakers, I visited TAG Heuer at Le Champ de Fonds, Switzerland, and witnessed myself every step of production, from design, research, development, testing, actual manufacturing, and even marketing. One of the biggest criticisms of the brand from the watch snobs is the low quality. This, in a wider sense, as I addressed in a recent rant video on my top most common misconceptions by watch enthusiasts, is also true for TAG. The brand seems to receive a lot of criticism when it comes to this particular subject. Do some of the more affordable watches come with bracelets that are a bit, jingly jangly, let's say, pin and collar links? Yes. Do some of their entry-level watches have generic, basic ETA movements? Of course. But guys, you have to take into account the price. What do you expect for around $1,000? Look at their factory. For a moment, imagine the upkeep costs. From the investment in infrastructure, training, equipment, materials, buying components, wages, or even things as simple as electricity bills. Can you imagine the cost of keeping a place of this scale operating? And this is just in manufacturing. The list of expenses is endless when it comes to making watches. Take the case of the watch, for example. Most people simply do not understand how much time and separate processes are involved in getting it to the final stage. How about research and development or legal fees? And then there's the cost of promotion, etc., etc. And I've barely scratched the surface here. It's not until you fully understand what goes into making a watch that you understand the costs involved. And God forbid, they make a profit too. But let's not forget, this is Switzerland, not a cheap place at all to undertake this kind of operation. One of the most impressive things about TAG Heuer that really stayed with me during my visit, compared to similar brands at the same level that I have witnessed, is their quality control process. Most often, brands will test and address this towards the end of the long process of manufacturing. However, here, during each step of the way of assembly, of which there are many, I should add, QC tests were repeatedly made again and again between every step. No matter what you think about the brand, They are well made and relative to their price. What do you expect when you spend entry to mid-level prices? Essentially what I'm saying is you get what you pay for, and I genuinely believe that. So let's talk a little bit about heritage. Inside the factory there is a museum, and it's personally curated by Jack Heuer himself. And here I was lucky enough to see some of the most legendary watches, and it's beautifully laid out, I must add. So Heuer became TAG Heuer in 1985 when they were purchased by the TAG Group, which stands for Techniques d'Avant-Garde. And that is when things really changed. Now, of course, they're part of LVMH, I think since about 1999. But let's not forget the Heuer achievements, the brand being founded as far back as 1860 by Edouard Heuer. Their first breakthroughs were a series of technical innovations dating back to the 1880s that led the company to become a specialist in the field of timing sports events. And during the 1920s, Heuer introduced mechanical stopwatches able to measure 1/100th of a second, and they were used at the Antwerp, Paris and Amsterdam Olympics. This very much solidified their reputation worldwide, and this connection to sport timing would continue right up until the present day and would flourish in the 60s during their golden era of motor racing watches, of course designed by Jack Heuer. As discussed in my top space-going watch video, on February 20th, 1962, John Glenn orbited the Earth 3 times wearing a Heuer 2915A stopwatch, and this was on top of his spacesuit, held in place by a custom-made elastic strap. The watch served as a backup timer during the space mission. But without a doubt, TAG Heuer's most iconic models are associated with automobile racing, and one of their most famous and desired is, of course, the Carrera. Jack Heuer suggested the name shortly after taking control of the company from his uncle, and the name derives from the Carrera Panamericana, a dangerous race run on actual public roads in Mexico during the 1950s. Its clean design was inspired by the architecture of Le Corbusier, who incidentally was also born in Le Champ-de-Fonds. Their racing watch legacy peaked in the early 1970s as several of the big brands raced themselves in a kind of competition to create the first automatic chronographs. This 2-year secret project was a massive undertaking, and to further distinguish themselves from the rivals, Jack Heuer made his entry into the race square, and thus the iconic Monaco was born. Automatic versions of the Octavia, Carrera and the cinematically immortalized Monaco were made with the caliber 11 and 12. The Octavia was famously worn by Swiss Formula One star Joe Siffert, and the Monaco by Steve McQueen in the 1971 movie Le Mans. And talking of movies, let's not forget the Heuer 1000 dive watch worn by Timothy Dalton as James Bond. But honestly, again here we are merely scratching the surface. There is an endless list of achievements. However, we must not neglect to mention that this history of innovation has not stopped. In recent years, they have developed a series of groundbreaking, ultra-fast mechanical chronographs, as well as an innovative tourbillon watch priced under $20,000, which is quite an incredible feat, along with the launch of a luxury smartwatch. So in conclusion, what I'm trying to say here, accusing this brand of being garbage is pure ill-informed ignorance. There is only truly one type of watch that is garbage, and that is the criminally made fakes and replicas. Never forget, all watches, whether you like them or not, they are made by people who have worked hard to produce them. They may not be your cup of tea, but let's respect the effort, time, cost that's gone into it. Dare I say it, a piece of someone's soul as well. Those who look down upon watches because it's not super expensive or exclusive, well, that's their own insecurities, so never pay any attention to it. If you like the watch, that is all that matters, because you're going to be wearing it. So let's discuss some of the negatives of TAG Heuer. Well, in the 80s and 90s, things didn't look good for them. In fact, they were really, really hurting, and thus why they had to become TAG Heuer. And with that purchase of the company, there was an aggressive 20% increase in their advertising budget, which did have the desired effect of increasing awareness of the brand and helping it become profitable again. The problem is it increased awareness so much that it kind of, to the detriment perhaps of its exclusivity, and also the availability was everywhere. I mean, that's the downside of success, is that they're going to be more available. In turn, affects their value retention. However, the great thing is, and as we always do on the Urban Gentry, look at the positive. You can get a better deal, and that's the silver lining here. So hunt about, especially on the used market. You can take even more of the sting out of the retail, you know, the full price you'd have to pay in the mall or the airport. Personally, a lot of their designs from the 80s and 90s, I mean, they made some bad decisions. Inevitably, when you're struggling, you take a few risks. They were also very kind of fashion-based, which I think is always a mistake when it comes to design, because what's hot today might not be tomorrow. They left the aesthetic, the Jack Heuer aesthetic, the timeless classics, of course, to something a bit more lively. And I do think that kind of hurt the brand as well. Personally, I think TAG Heuer is a brand worthy of respect. Do I like all of their watches? No, some of them are not my cup of tea. However, they still got some great watches, and I think they're going in the right direction now under Jean-Claude Biver. They're going more based on their rich, illustrious heritage, which I really do think is a wise move. That nicely segues into my ultimate advice, which is to buy classics. Now, Jack didn't specify which TAG Heuer he's interested in. I would look at the Carreras, the Aqua Racers, very tastefully done, very capable and affordable diver, so why not? There we go. Anyway, guys, do let me know your thoughts, queries, opinions, all the rest of it down in the comments, especially which TAG Heuers you like, which you dislike, what you think of the brand. Why do you think TAG Heuer is kind of looked down upon by certain, not all watch enthusiasts, certain, you know, the negative watch enthusiasts? Let's leave it at that. Also, any suggestions for next year reviews of possible TAG Heuer watches, please do share that. To Jack, happy hunting, finding your TAG Heuer. I hope you enjoy it and it brings you happiness. So I'll leave it there, guys. Catch you in the next one. Okay, ciao. Now, before I go, guys, I just want to quickly tell you about this extremely cool app that Watchbox have launched. This is my own personal go-to app for everything watch related. Using the app, you can keep track of the real-time value of your watch collection. You can store watches in your digital watch box and even try on watches using an augmented reality. So don't miss out, and please go to the App Store and download it today. You can access all of my latest videos right there in the app itself. And if you haven't already, please follow me on the official Urban Gentry Instagram and of course the Facebook UGWC. But most importantly of all, keep it positive, onwards and upwards.